Hello friends, this is Janno Peensalu here. I have a special pastor friend here with me this morning, Pastor Steve Mack. Welcome to Estonia. First time in Estonia.
First time. I love it.
Wonderful. I picked him up yesterday from Riga airport. We are here this morning getting ready for a men's meeting tonight. Yeah. And if you're watching this and don't know about it, I'll put the poster up on the video. But I wanted to take this moment and discuss some things about relationships. My spiritual father, Dr. Edwin Lewis Cole, says that there are three main problem areas in a marriage between singles. Pretty much everybody deals with that: communication, sex, and money. So in relationships, that's what you find. And we want to discuss some of these things. Now, Pastor Steve, you've been married how long?
I will be married in December of this year, 50 years.
Well, you don't even look that old.
So, yeah, we were married young.
All right, so you have a lot of experience, and I'm sure...
Still learning.
Okay, that's exactly what we want to know, right. What you've learned about. But first, maybe just a few words. Introduce yourself.
Yeah.
You're a pastor, you're part of CMN. A few words.
Right. CMN has been a very beneficial part of our ministry over the last number of years. But my wife and I, Karen, like we just said, have been married for almost 50 years. And when we were a young couple, one of the things that we did, that we made a lot of mistakes, like any couple will, and we'll get into some of that. But we did make a wise move and got planted in a local church. A church, and we stayed in that ministry for almost 30 years, and then through a series of being very committed in that church, we raised our family there. At a certain point, I left my career, and we began to minister on the pastoral team of the church. This was in the United States. And after a number of years being there, the Lord called us to come to Berlin, Germany, with our two teenage children.
That's where we met, in Berlin.
That's where we met in Berlin. And we've now been there in this church, building church in the city of Berlin for almost 19 years. And so that's been, so in all of our married life, we essentially have been in two churches for most of those years. And that's been a very important part of building our lives and building our family. And our children and my grandchildren are all there in Berlin, serving alongside of us. And so the church has been essential, and the church is where we were introduced to Christian Men's Network, and have made so many wonderful friends through Paul Lewis Cole and the incredible people that work with him around the globe, that's impacted your life so strongly as well.
Absolutely.
So it's an honor to be here too. I would just say to those of you listening, here Estonia is a beautiful nation, and I've enjoyed just being here. It's a little cold.
Sorry about that.
For the end of April, it's chilly, but it's just gorgeous, and the sun is out, and so it's great to be here, Janno.
So honored to have you here. Now, Dr. Cole has taught us that Christ-like men, strong men, help to make families strong, and good, strong families make a church strong.
Right.
And now, when we talk about relationships, would you just, top of your head, name few premises that would help to make a relationship work well? Maybe in your own life. There are probably many, many things, but what have you found helping your particular relationship?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the most important things that has to happen, whether it's a male-female relationship or any relationship between parents and children, I have a really good friend, one of my close friends, who likes to say, somebody has to be the adult.
Mm.
And what does that mean? Well, what it means is there are times when even the closest husband and wife, colleague at work, working in a church leadership on a board or with people, whenever you're working with people, there are going to be times where you're just not going to come to an agreement, or there's not going to be the ability to, somebody's going to have to compromise. Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to have to make a decision. And to be the adult in the room means to be the one who's most willing to sacrifice and to serve others. And
like yield your right.
Well, exactly. I often tell our team in Berlin, there's a great burden in being right. And what that means is you can be right and have the correct answer, but it's all in how you carry that. And sometimes being right is not as important as being gracious and kind and building a bridge into people's lives. So I think one of the keys...
So one of them would be to yield your rights.
Exactly. To always be prepared to lay down what your desires are and your thing on behalf of others. Now, there are times when compromising is not good. But very often it's about, that's an issue of, I really want it my way. And that leads into another very important element when it comes to relationships. A great question to always ask yourself when you're dealing with any situation is, who is it for? Mm-hmm. Now, what does that mean? In other words, if I see something that you're doing and I say, what are you doing that for? And I correct you. You hear the tone I just used? It wasn't very positive. It was accusatory. Mm-hmm. That's never coming from the heart of our Heavenly Father when there's an accusation in the tone. And when I correct you, or if I'm talking to my son or daughter and I'm correcting them about something, the question is, who is it for? Am I correcting them because I'm concerned about their benefit? If they don't learn from this issue, it will hurt them later on. It'll hold them back from something better. Or am I correcting them because I'm slightly irritated and it annoys me what they're doing? See, that's for me. Mm-hmm. See, we can be correcting people. We can be completely correct, but we can be correcting people out of irritation. And so I need to ask myself, is this correction for my benefit because I don't like what you're doing? Or am I really thinking of you above myself? Mm-hmm. And in any relationship, the more we can... It's kind of connected to the first thing we were talking about, where I'm willing to lay aside my right to be right. I'm willing to lay aside getting my way for something bigger.
It's like Jesus laying down your life.
Yeah, it's very much like that.
Doing the will of the Father, which is, my will and His will.
Right.
Letting go my will at this time.
And that's actually what Christ-likeness is. Mm-hmm. He didn't come, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords didn't come.
That's a good point.
To be Lord in that way. He came to serve and not be served. And then what actually happens is that when we're willing to do that consistently, it really opens our eyes to ourselves. Because when you check yourself and go, who am I doing this for? And you realize I'm doing it out of irritation, not out of true concern for that person. In fact, it's often most difficult to evaluate it with the people closest to us because we spend the most time with them. No one knows me as well as my wife does. We're friends. We've known each other for 50 years. So no one can trigger me in the wrong ways faster than she can, and me to her.
Exactly.
And so another really important thing to develop in your life when it comes to relationships and having healthy, deep, abiding, close friendships is to develop the gift of self-awareness, where you're able to step outside of yourself and actually try to see what others see. And none of us can do that completely.
Would be like, what would it be like to live with myself?
Exactly. And there's none of us, and there's no way any of us can do that fully. Okay? We just can't. It's not humanly possible to completely see yourself the way others do. Yeah. And that's where, but if you are working toward that and you're self-aware enough to know that, I'm aware enough of myself to realize I don't see things others see, that will then lead you to wisely surrounding yourself with people who can see the things you can't see.
Now, when you mentioned about getting that, letting your right go, and then understanding that maybe you need to listen to another party here, get a feedback. So how important is that feedback? You got to humble yourself.
Right.
To let go your right to say, well, let's do it this way, So feedback. I heard Joyce Meyer say years ago that a couple should have periodical meetings where they sit down and ask those two questions. Like, first question would be, is there anything I'm doing that it's irritating you? And I don't know, because I don't look at myself like, you do. And I think I'm all fine at every side. But and then another question would have been, is there anything you want me to do and I'm not doing it at this time for whatever reason?
Yeah, that's good.
So what do you think of these questions?
Yeah, those are very good. And see, both of those questions bring us right back to this principle of being both willing to set aside our feelings and issues on the behalf of others, and to be self-aware. Because if I ask you to evaluate me, that's risky, by the way. One of the reasons we don't ask those kind of questions more often is we don't really want to know the answer. And we try to run from that. See, you and I, a true friend is somebody who will tell us what we need to hear, not necessarily what we want to hear.
Tell us the truth.
Yeah, we need people in our life that will tell us what we need to hear, not necessarily what we want to hear. But it's of no value. There's no value in having that conversation out of those questions that Joyce Meyer posed, which are so good. Yeah, are there things I could do that I'm not doing? We're never going to do that if we have made decisions to ignore what we're bringing to the relationship, and we're only focused on what I need. I'm not getting this, what I need. The same thing happens when we come to church. If you're involved in a church, if you walk in the door on Sunday and go, I hope I get what I need today. I hope the message is better than it was last week. and there's the entire focus is on what I need, instead of going, walking off the train to come into church or wherever, and to say, Lord, use me today to speak to somebody else. In other words, the more we get the focus off of ourselves, the more we become really who we're meant to be. It enlarges us, but it doesn't feel like that in the moment when we're not seeing a need met that we feel that we have.
So the selfishness is the big killer in relationships.
In any relationship, including marriage. But marriage puts everything on steroids because of its intimacy and its connection and closeness.
Yeah, love brings out the best. Marriage brings out the rest.
Yeah, there you go. I hadn't heard that, but that's exactly right. And of course, when it comes to male and female relationships, the culture we live in today is so intense when it comes to relationships between men and women, and it's all out there. Everything is out there to be seen, heard, and experienced. It's really easy to pick up negatives that focus, for example, on the fact that men and women are different, and you have so much coming against that, and it's so much of it is negative. It's really hard not to pick up wrong thinking. But I think what you started out talking about here really helps. If we can get outside of ourselves and realize life isn't all about me, and that if I have an attitude that I'm here to help and serve others, and really sincerely believe that, it's amazing how much more fulfilled you will feel. How much more joy you will experience when you are really looking to be of benefit to other people.
But it seems to me that it's very hard yet to do. Because most marriages struggle. A lot of marriages here in Estonia as well, 50% at least end up in divorce. how many relationships never work out, we don't even count, right? So it seems to me that though we have so much material available, books, seminars, counselors, church marriage seminars, we're still not able to, I don't know, apply the truths and wisdom into our lives. We don't notice our selfishness. We think of ourselves better than we actually are. Very often, as single people also, they say, well, why don't anybody want me? I'm such a good woman of God. I'm such a good man of God. So, I'm living here at my home. I feel I'm good Christian. But put me in the middle of people and I start to see some weird stuff coming out. I didn't know I had this irritation. I did not know that I could do things like that. So yeah, that's a mystery to me. We have all that available around us. Now, I heard a statement, and Steve, you need to comment on that because you've been married. And I heard a statement that marriage would take maybe about 10 years to really start working. And if you quit before 10 years, then, maybe you quit too early. What do you think of that?
I think it's an interesting idea, but I think putting any kind of number or years onto something as a formula is it's too there's no certainties in male and female relationships and in marriage, and so it can take some couples far longer than 10 years.
I know a couple who did.
Yeah. And actually, that's not a negative, though. If I can still say, and I can say this here publicly, that I'm still learning how to be a better husband, even after 50 years. Wow. It could mean, from a negative standpoint, I'm just a slow learner. And I'm not going to argue that may not be true. But what it means is the both for men and women, the capacity to change, the capacity to reevaluate humanly. We have such incredible gifts given to us, no matter what your background is. The fact is, there is no other species, if you will. There's no other creation out there that we know of that has been given the God-given ability to move away from old ways of thinking and to change. And
change is hard.
It is hard, but it's so rewarding. And especially when you take, like in a marriage, if there's a commitment to conversation, like you said, and a willingness to give up rights and to truly sit down and talk. And I would say to the audience out there, I think men have a key role in that. Men and women are different. As much as the culture is trying to say there's not that much difference, there is significant differences.
Absolutely.
But those differences aren't intended to create division, but a synergy. That there's a collaboration that, when it's brought together in a beautiful way, creates something extremely beautiful. That's going to keep changing because we are human beings that get older. We experience things differently. And we come from different backgrounds. There's so many factors involved. And so when there's some foundational things that we grab onto and learn over years, some quicker than others, but learning to serve others and have a different attitude toward things, there is no place along the journey of a marriage where it has to stagnate and get old and not grow. But it all depends on the attitude and mentality of the persons involved. Things will change anyway, okay? But they can change for the better. I really believe that. And I think the majority of people, Janno, would say that, or they wouldn't go out and try again,
Yeah.
There's a sense of hope, that this isn't the end. This may not have worked out in this situation.
Yeah, it's this relationship.
But I know there's something else out there that can really be different.
Yeah.
And so I often will tell younger men and women that are seeking a partner in life and I think I already shared this with you in one of our conversations. We've been talking like this, by the way, ever since I came to
from Riga.
Ever since we got here. But I often will tell men and women, don't pray, God, where's my partner? Pray, God, continue to do the work in me to change who I need to be the best possible partner for the person that you've already chosen for me.
Yeah.
So it's a great thing to pray. Yes, Lord, bring along a partner, but also keep the focus on what do I need to do differently? What thinking do I need to have or get rid of that will prepare me to be a better partner?
I'd like
go
to
ahead.
add quickly something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because so often single people have this long list. The younger you are, the longer the list is. What kind of a spouse you want? I want her to be musical, to play piano, long hair, beautiful figure, great attitude, easy maintenance, all of these things. But then, you have non-existent list for yourself. Like what you need to change in your life. I'm good as it is.
Yeah.
So you just, that's this point.
Yeah.
So, do you have a list what you need to become,
Right.
But our focus is what the other needs to be like. And then I think the other thing is in life that nothing comes to us, nothing is what it would become one day in the future. I mean, God didn't give us the tables and chairs and shelves, wooden shelves. He gave us trees. Those were hidden in there. So you have
That's good. Yeah,
so you have to study it out and investigate and search out what God. I think. So first, I mean, the person can be very different what your list was like. And I've also noticed that the older you get, the shorter list it will become, and eventually throw the list away. But list about you, what you need to become, what you need to change in your life. Most people don't even have one, don't even think about it. They just focus on the other. Not me. And also in the marriage, then. Right. What the other one is not doing, what the other one is doing wrong. But not what you're contributing, what you need to give. So.
I've said very often to people, if you want to have a friend, first be a friend.
Exactly. Right.
And so, one of the steps toward a marriage relationship, a partnership for life with a partner, is to learn how to become a friend. And the lifestyles that are so easy to live today, digital lifestyle.
Yes.
We even call digital friends, and they're not. We
know them by profile.
We only know them by their profile,
no
and that's not friendship. There's no substitute for face to face. And the whole world realizes this. It's having to readjust to the world we're living in, the digital world we're living in, and now we're dealing with the potential that eventually. I just recently heard an industry leader in the field of technology talk about the ability to sit in a meeting like we're having right now, where you would see us, but we're actually just we're just digital images, and you can actually show up and sit in a board meeting
like a 3D.
You can be the meeting can be in Tokyo, but you could be sitting in Pärnu here, and you're in that meeting, and it looks like you're physically there.
It's a hologram, like
exactly.
the Tom Hanks movie, right?
Or Star Trek, yeah, whatever. But the point is that you can maybe get an effective meeting done, but just because you have access to an image doesn't give you impact.
Exactly.
And impact comes through flesh and blood conversation,
Intimacy.
And learning to be a friend. Is not you just don't have friendship doesn't just happen. It's like you said, it's like the tree. It's not going to become the table without intention. Yeah, that's a good word. Intentionality. Friendship is something you have to learn how to do. And the more you learn to be a friend to others, and what that involves, and that would be a long conversation here we could have if we want. The more I learn to be a friend to others and build strong, deep relationships where there's There's a mutual love and respect.
And then you can throw out of that friendship
Between men or men and women. Okay. And it's possible even for men and women that aren't interested in each other in that way, to have a romantic way. But very often that kind of friendship that is mutually respectful sets the stage for...
becomes the basis.
Exactly. So anyway, I think, if you want friends, be a friend.
Yeah, be a friend. Now, I heard Bishop T.D. Jakes make this statement. I wish I could come up with more of my own stuff, but I only quote others. But anyway, he mentioned that he had met a couple who had been married 60 years.
Okay.
Now, you're almost 50 years with your wife, Karen, but 60 years. And he, of course, asked the question, what's the secret of your long-lasting marriage? And she said, they were both together, but she spoke up and she said, we never fell out of love at the same time. Meaning, like, when one had their struggles or, I don't know, middle life crisis or whatever, the other one was keeping on. Then perhaps there were some other things that happened and she got frustrated and maybe thought about, divorce or whatever, but he kept on. So how do you comment it? Is that what really happens? And
well, of course, I think there's no way a marriage of decades won't have its seasons of fire and ice.
Severe crisis.
Yeah, there will be things that happen. And a lot of them aren't things you can necessarily control. The death of a child or some surprise loss that had nothing to do with the relationship, but it impacts it because it impacts us individually. And there's something powerful about a commitment. This is why marriage is not just another idea of humanity. God was the creator of marriage in a garden with our first parents. He created marriage before the fall. He brought a man and woman together. So marriage is a God-inspired institution to build the world, to create humanity and all of its, and to allow human flourishing in the most beautiful ways. It comes out of that foundation. And having a commitment to that for a lifetime, when you step into a marriage ceremony, whether it's in a civil hall or on a beach in Bali, but you make in front of you and I have married couples over the years. When you say to that person, "Till death do us part," those are words that none of us can fully appreciate what that could end up meaning. Yeah. But when there is a determination that I will give everything I have to make this work, whether I feel in love in the moment or not, there's something powerful about that. It really frees two people to pursue their own interests, and it all gets brought back into the strength of the couple. And it empowers men and women when they have someone in their life that's behind them, that's got their back, that is always for them. And maybe for them enough. I need people that are for me. Like my wife will tell me things that no one else will. She'll tell me things she sees because she sees me both in front of the camera and behind the camera. And it's a gift. And even if it's not always said in the right way, that's one of our challenges. If you're all listening out there, evaluate how you speak to the people closest to you. Because very often, like I said, back to that issue, we may be right.
You mean by what kind of words we use?
The words may be correct.
Tone?
It's tone. It's tone. Because if I'm frustrated and speaking out of irritation and accusation,
what kind of spirit you put into those words?
It's like I can say to you, "What are you doing, Janno?" Or I can say, "What are you doing?"
Right.
And those are the same
words. Or what bothers you, or what's wrong with you.
Exactly. And I don't care if it's English or Estonian.
We can both do it.
It's the same. It's a spirit behind the words.
Exactly.
And when there is an affirmative, encouraging, "I'm for you. I don't think this is the right way you should do this, but whatever, I'm with you."
Yeah.
That's empowering.
Now, that is one weak area in Estonian people, because we grew up without anybody telling us they love us. My mother, I never heard that statement. Of course, I knew the statement, I love you. And I remember when I had my first serious girlfriend, and she asked me if, like, you should tell me something, right? And I knew exactly what she wanted to hear. I could not muster up the sentence. It's just, it was so hard. So I think Estonian couples and relationships in general really are below that, suffering or having the vacancy of that word impartation that does give. You know, people do love each other. My mom loved me in action. She did everything for me. But that you really actually need to hear that as well. You know, we do understand it today. Now it's getting better, of course, gradually. But you come from American background. I mean, you had love you, love you, love you back and forth, you know. So it was much, much easier. And I see that self-image and that value people see about themselves is higher also, because maybe partly because of the uses of words. And
yeah, I think it's generational too. I think like my parents didn't say I love you a lot, but later on in life it came, and I would never leave my mom and dad. I didn't live near them, but I would never leave them or have a conversation on a phone call or whatever where that didn't get said at the end. And so my last words to my 90-year-old mother, my 96-year-old dad, the last conversation I had, I love you, was spoken. It's a great way to leave.
Wow.
To finish out. So I would encourage those of you who are younger out there, maybe young family and parents. One of the other challenges, I think, not just Estonian culture, but any culture, is if I say too many things that are praiseworthy to children, they'll get a big head. We say a big, they'll get proud. Mm-hmm. And I would just challenge that. I often tell our church, you can never praise your children enough.
Yeah.
You cannot, and there is no limit on how often you can tell them how much you love them, how proud you are of them, and
the same goes for spouses, right?
Exactly. But if you start building that into them, the beautiful thing is when you really do that from your heart, genuinely, and it's not easy. Because you feel uncomfortable.
Because by nature, we only notice negative.
Yeah, right. We have those built-in negatives, but the more we do it, and we do it sincerely. It's not just speaking words. A lot of times, people that say it all the time, we think, they don't really mean it. So it has to be done in the right way and in the right timing. But children are different. You can never praise them enough. Mm-hmm. And if you build that into them, for example, a little girl, if a dad tells her little girl how lovely she is, how I love you, sweetheart, you are so beautiful, you're a princess, you're always going to be my princess, and I love you and I'm proud of you. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, if you're talking to her like that when she's 4, when she's 14, she's not going to go out looking for some boy that's her age to tell her that. She doesn't need to hear it from a sweet talking guy at school. She's already got it from the real man in her life. Mm-hmm. And she'll look for the same kind of qualities in a man when she's ready.
And she's not looking for love in the wrong place.
Exactly. Perfectly said. Exactly. So it really does matter.
Yeah.
And it's the same when it comes to our partners. We really do need to express how we feel toward them. Because the other thing that does, take the example of the 4-year-old going to 14. There's no way that you're not going to have time. This is, as we talk about relationships, if you genuinely love someone and express love for them and tell them and articulate, and this is not an easy thing to do for men, especially.
Oh, no.
But if we'll do that, and it's sincere, and children are very wise, they know when an adult is being real in a good way. Mm-hmm. I used to be a school teacher. The kids can tell when the teacher likes them.
Yep.
And they are more attentive and more drawn to learn when they feel like the adult in the room that's teaching really likes them. and it's for them. And that's what it's really about. What an opportunity for men to be for the people in their life. I'm for you.
Yeah.
I'm here to help you, do what I can. I'm behind you. That's powerful. But what it also does is it unlocks the ability that when the time comes, I have to correct my 4-year-old daughter, or I have to correct my 14-year-old daughter, that this is not a good idea. This isn't something you should do. I have built up a reservoir of trust that she knows I'm not just complaining about something out of irritation. I have positioned myself to speak the truth in love, as the scripture says, and to be to discipline, because she knows I'm not doing it out of being irritated, but out of true concern for her. Now, it doesn't mean that 14-year-old will necessarily listen in that moment, but you've created a platform to be able to bring constructive correction. And that same thing, the dynamic would be true in adult relationships, husband and wives, for example, in different ways than it would be with your children. But when you truly communicate over a period of time, genuine love and support in a positive way that's genuine, it's not a facade, it's real. You position yourself to really be able to have a voice in being heard into the things that are important for their benefit in other ways.
Because it's easy to trust somebody who you know loves you.
Exactly.
Because they would only want good for you. Now, Dr. Cole said, this man right here, that God, or that comes from the Bible, of course, God inhabits the praises of his people. So he said, if you want to God inhabit on your marriage, praise your wife. And she praise your husband, you know.
That's really good, We
often don't do that because, again, we are negative by nature. It's easy to first notice and find and just see negative things. If I would take any marriage couples sit behind the table, or anybody in that matter, and say, listen, what's bad? What's the problem? What's negative about him or about her? They would come up with 4 or 5 A4 pages, but then what's good? And they really start to work on it. Now, I gave my men in this men group a little assignment, and I said, when your wife's birthday or special anniversary is coming up, I want you to just make a special card next time and list at least 50 good things about her. Whatever she does well, and attitude-wise, what she's, how she relates to children, brings them up, to you, all these things that...
So good, that's good.
Yeah, and, only one guy actually started to do it. So, meaning, like, we are not really putting intention into these things. We push them forward. We think things become better by themselves. Everything goes worse by themselves. The car, goes worse if you don't, put oil in or fix it up. Stone gets, even the stone, dismantles and iron rusts, and everything just gets worse over the time. So if there's no intentionality, you're not going to get anything.
That was a great idea.
Yeah. So
because that, again, we are so wired to notice the negatives.
And 50 is a big number.
That's a big number. That is a big number. But what makes that such a brilliant exercise for any of us, whether it's a marriage partner or others, is it forces us to start thinking about things we normally see the negatives. It's just the way we're wired by nature. But we've been reprogrammed by Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And so the ability to begin to see the positives is much more enhanced for those of us who have said yes to Jesus and who have said, Holy Spirit, come and control my life.
Absolutely.
But it still, like you said, requires intentionality. But see, here's the truth. The more we choose to see the best in others, it always brings out the best in us.
Wow.
So when you're focused, because the guys that handle our marriage counseling in our church, one of the exercises that the couples go through is to list their positive qualities themselves, their person, and then to see the others. And it's actually easier usually to see the positives in your partner that you're going to marry than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard for people to sit and actually go, oh, I don't know. You know, that makes me feel proud. We really struggle to write out our own good qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of us are really good at it, you know, but the point is that's illustrating the principle. If you consistently and consciously and with intentionality, as you've said, will choose to find the good in others, even enemies, people that you may never have a close relationship with, but if you'll choose to try to see, because actually that's what God sees.
Exactly.
He's always looking not at where we are, but where we can be in the future.
Yeah.
I like to call it future glory.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that helped me in my marriage, was to realize my wife is already, the scripture says, is already seated in heavenly places. That's what it says. She's already a daughter of the Most High God. She's a king and priest to serve our God on the earth. Yeah. She is royalty.
It's just not your wife. She's the daughter of...
She's the daughter of the king. How am I going to trash her?
Yeah.
How am I going to act not right toward the daughter of the king, who's already been destined and promised to be seated on a throne, given a new name only known to her in Jesus, and she will reign with him, seated on a throne, and judge and be a ruler in the life to come.
Yeah. Treat her as fine china, as Dr. Cole said.
Ooh. So that should make it a lot easier to start looking for the good.
Yeah.
But that's her future. Is it all happening right now? No. But the real question then is, how can I enlarge her life and advance her destiny through my words, my attitudes, my actions toward her, and put that in front of me? Because as I'm doing that consciously toward her, I'm becoming that too. Mm-hmm. Because I'm choosing to see I'm looking through the eyes of the way Jesus looks at me, and my future and my potential. And I'm tapping into that and beginning to live that out in the way I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's a radical change.
It becomes an investment.
It's an empowering thing though too. And it actually begins, as I do that and I see the good in others, it enables me to begin to change how I pray for them, how I think about them. And it's transformative most of all for me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. No. So let me repeat that again. Yeah. If the more I'll look for the good in others, the more it brings out the good in me. Yeah. That's the principle.
So you reap from that investment eventually. Yeah. Talking about your marriage, almost 50 years. You don't need to go in details, but have you guys come to the place where you were in a deep crisis, maybe almost talking about divorce? Somebody asked Jesse Duplantis, have you ever thought of divorce? He said, no, but murder, yes. But anyway, people who do go through these very low moments think that, well, if this relationship was from the Lord, it was divinely orchestrated, it would go smoothly, there would be anointing on it, there would be a blessing on it, things would just flow. But in real life, things don't happen like that always. No. And of course, there are some really well-working marriages from the beginning. And, we've heard testimonies, and those are rather rare. But what about yours?
Well, we got married very young. Mm-hmm. We were still I was 21, she was almost 19. So we were very young, and we grew up together. Yeah. And I wouldn't recommend that for most couples. That's a little young. And so we had some very hard early days of getting to know each other and getting adjusted. But we did have a Christian background, that both of us came from Christian families, and a commitment to a lifetime partnership. We didn't even realize what that was. Mm-hmm. And so we had seasons of things going well. We've had seasons where we've been challenged through outside circumstances, where, like when we moved to Germany, that was very hard. It was a very difficult season. We sold our home. We completely changed our lifestyles. But we were both committed. We knew it was what God wanted us to do. He was calling us to a new life and a new season. And I would say that our ability to love each other and to have a close relationship has grown over the years. Did we threaten each other with divorce? I'm sure at some point. I don't remember having those kind of conversations, but we've certainly had.
You did feel like quitting.
Oh, you feel like quitting, and I can't take another day of this. There's no way that you will not experience that. At least in some moment, you may never publicly talk about it, but you will feel that. And especially in a world that we live in where it's so easily talked about as an option. And so I'm here to tell you, though, that God is, He's faithful in our weakness.
So do you think that...
He's faithful in our weakness.
Do you think that many couples quit too early?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They don't work?
No, because they think it is an option. And they give up way too early.
They maybe get terrified too much about the crises. They expected something beautiful, bluish, this glorious thing, and all of a sudden the reality is so much different. And
right.
I've thought of this thing, that temptation is a very real thing. Now we say, oh, I know it was just a temptation, but sometimes you don't understand it's a temptation. You think it is, I married the wrong person.
Oh.
You feel so much like, because all the emotions are gone, all the love is gone. I mean, even infatuation. All you feel is, I don't like this person, and blah, blah, blah. And then you start to think like, maybe I did marry a wrong person, right. So I should get out of this as fast as possible, right. And get another, and that would be a whole lot better. And often it's not, of course. Right. The That's actual good. Statistics proves it that second and third marriages are more probable to go right. south than even the first one. So I think, just observing people in the society, in my church, that many people quit too soon.
Right. Well, love is.
And it looks
love
like
is,
you are almost.
Love is not a feeling.
Yeah.
It's a decision.
It's a decision.
And once the decision is made, if I believe God can create a universe by speaking it into existence and can save and rescue all of humanity by giving up his own son, incredible. That's the grand panorama of the good news is true.
Yeah.
And it's transforming and creating a kingdom that cannot be shaken. All of that is true. But if I believe that, do I not think that when I make a choice to stay with this person, I don't feel a lot of love right now, but I trust that God, if you can create a universe like this, you can also recreate in me and in my partner feelings that I don't feel in the moment.
Yeah.
So love is not a feeling first. It will come.
It starts also with infatuation, right?
Well, that's a different season. That's early on. You have that, but why not in a marriage like in my own?
In Estonia, we say it's bucket on your head, so you don't see anything.
It's a bucket on your head. Yeah. It's called puppy love where I come from. Woof woof. But why not? Even if I'm talking to some of you out there, maybe that might be been married or longer than I am. Why not pray for a little feeling of puppy love again? Why not pray? Say, God, put some real fire in our feelings toward each other, and we just have another second honeymoon. I'm talking to my wife about this year. We're going to have a second honeymoon, and we've actually gone out and done things. So actually, I've told guys that get married, dating starts after you're married. Forget the before marriage. That's easy. Dating and content but I want to say too, for men and women out there where, especially maybe I'm talking to some of the women, if you're in a situation where you're not being respected and you're being abused in wrong ways, that's a whole nother set. So we're not talking here about where somebody's not doing what they should, maybe even breaking the law by being physically abusive.
Exactly.
That's a whole different thing. That's really not what we're talking about. We're talking about where maybe two people really aren't seeing eye to eye and they're going through some real hard struggles. Exactly. I'll tell you another one for men and women that get into our age group where I am. is caring for older parents. That's very stressful, and almost always it falls to the women in the family, the daughters. Not saying that's the way it should be, but that often happens. And that can be extremely stressful.
Yeah.
And it's not anything toward the person or your partner, but it creates its own levels of stress that can be very challenging. Another one is where a partner has a spouse that gets a long-term illness that's very debilitating, and maybe very gradually that person's not the same anymore. That can be really hard as well.
Absolutely.
And we really need grace for those kind of situations.
Now let's talk about place of forgiveness in relationships.
Ooh.
How much have you and your wife had to, or even let's rephrase it, if it wasn't forgiveness, would you guys have stayed together?
No. We've both have learned the power of forgiveness, not just for one another, but also in the lives of others. And no, there's no way that we would be able to function beyond just, we could stay married and she can live there and I'll come to live here in Estonia with, where it's nice all the time and
in July.
July, but she can stay somewhere else. No, I mean, it's possible to stay married and not have a marriage. Okay, so let's just be clear about that.
Yes.
But forgiveness, again, it's not a feeling, it's a choice. It's a decision.
Now,
and if I decide to forgive,
yeah,
I open the way and empower another level of care and love for another person,
exactly.
Especially a partner.
Exactly. But now many people would ask, in some serious issues people have gone through, and not necessarily talking infidelity here, but one got disappointed in another and decided, now I'm going to just call it an end. We go different ways. Now they live separate, whatever. The relationship is sort of over. And but then you discuss this, and she says, well, I forgave you. I've forgiven, but I don't trust you any longer. How do you comment that? Now, I thought of that forgiveness, the attributes of forgiveness, in the light of how God forgives us. If God forgives me, that would mean, or that would not mean, like, I forgive you, but I don't want to see you any longer. I forgive you, but I don't trust you any longer. I don't give you back what you previously had. So how do you reconcile this trust and forgiveness that would, how much you need to trust again? If I say, I would like to, you said you forgave me. I want to feel that forgiveness, that something now is back to where it was before. Because sometimes people do forgive, but keep this wall. And if you do err in the same thing again, they say, well, you did it this time, and, that's over now.
Right.
And so how do you comment that trust and forgiveness, ratio there?
There's a terrific book called Forgiveness, Total Forgiveness. It's written by R.T. Kendall. I'd recommend that to those of you listening to the podcast. R.T. Kendall, Total Forgiveness. It's one of the best books I've ever read on the topic of forgiveness. Truth is, some of us are more naturally wired to be able to forgive than others.
Exactly.
And some of us really struggle with forgiveness. And it does have to do with how we've been brought up and how we were treated and a number of things like that. But when it comes to trust and forgiveness, say there was a breach of trust that was real. You lied about something. Maybe it was infidelity, but maybe it was a gambling problem, and
you hide it.
You hide it. You hide something, and you are taking money and not telling, whatever it might be. There's all kinds of things like that. And it becomes known. And the other partner forgives. If they understand forgiveness, I'm forgiving you of this. And one of the things that forgiveness is not forgetting. In fact, it's never intended for that. You can't forget something that happened.
Yeah.
The question is it controlling your behavior?
Right now, exactly.
And so trust is something that's earned. And again, if you will turn it away from the fact that I was wronged, I don't trust you anymore, and go, what will best help this person move away from an addiction to gambling? They're my husband or they're my wife, and I love them. So if I just say, I forgive you, and turn away and forget about it all and don't hold you accountable, I'm not really loving you. You need to take this seriously. My forgiveness comes with your willingness to not to show me the bank accounts, to promise that you're not going to lie and keep that promise. And, that's not having to keep forgiving or try to earn the forgiveness. That's about trust. That's earning trust. And in the process of me being honest,
good point,
then I'm moving back out into health. So forgiveness, though, if I don't forgive, and the opportunity to move towards something better, it won't even be there.
Yeah.
And,
so forgiveness sort of like opens the door, but trust has to be reestablished again in that matter.
Yeah, and that's not. Don't feel guilty if the trust is not being re-earned and there was no seriousness. I like being forgiven, but now I'm going to go back to being stupid.
So let's say if I say I forgive you, that should actually indicate that I open a door. If you want to go ahead and show your changed life and that you at least aspire towards that, you have this opportunity. So if I say I forgive you, but I say, oh, I don't want to see anything. Whatever you try, I don't care less. Then forgiveness hasn't really done its work.
That's not forgiveness.
That's not forgiveness.
I've had people come and say, I'm angry at my husband or wife. I'm trying to forgive them. Would you pray for me that I can try to forgive? And I'll say, no, I can't pray that for you.
Yeah.
You have to decide today. I choose to forgive, even if I don't feel like it. Forgiveness is a choice. It's a decision. Well, what about tomorrow? Then forgive them again tomorrow. Exactly. Make that a decision. Make it a decision. That's what forgiveness is.
Yeah.
And the other thing about that, as you well know, is that if I can't forgive consciously like that, I will never be able to fully receive the forgiveness that's been made for me.
Exactly.
Jesus said, your sins won't be forgiven if you don't forgive. And that sounds like the way we operate as humans. I will forgive you if you do something for me. In other words, I'll give you something if you give me something. Jesus says, I'll forgive you, but only if you forgive others. But see, God doesn't operate, we say in English, tit for tat. He doesn't operate, you do something for me, I'll do something for you. The reason God wants me, and Jesus commanded us, forgive others the way I have forgiven you, isn't so he's happy with us. It's for us. If I can't forgive you genuinely, I will never be able to fully understand and appreciate and receive the forgiveness that he made possible at the cross.
Yeah.
And I become the worse for that. I will not truly experience the forgiveness of God that frees me to begin to become the person I'm meant to be.
So the same door you close will become the closed door for you to receive, because you have a hard time believing that you can actually receive that.
Right. And you just walk in, live in doubt, and it's always, you're never sure if you're forgiven again. Yeah, that's not the way we're intended to live. So it's powerful when you can truly forgive someone and forgive the unforgivable. The other thing is, well, they didn't. I just had somebody recently say to me, I can't forgive them because they're not willing to even admit they did anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, but that's not forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do if somebody wronged you and they're no longer living?
Exactly.
And you're still carrying that wound, and that wound is affecting every relationship you have because you've got trust issues because of how that person wronged you.
And you think that all the other persons are the reason why things are not working.
Exactly.
But it's
So
in you.
You've got to forgive them, and if they're no longer here, we'd never have they'll never own up to it.
Yeah.
So forgiveness cannot be about.
It has to be about you.
Yeah. It's a decision I make.
Exactly.
I let that person off the hook.
Yeah.
And sometimes that feels like, well, they shouldn't be off the hook. They did wrong to me.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're still living and you go and expect them to say, I've had people confront people that they said, I'm going to go talk to this person that did this to me. And they go, I didn't do anything wrong. And they don't own up to it. In fact, they deny it and they say, you're the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that can happen. Well, where does that take you? Forgiveness is about forgiving them regardless of whether they own up to it or not. Because you don't forgive other people for them, but for you.
For your own sake.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You reach through the doors of the prison and you unlock.
To get you free.
Unforgiveness keeps us locked in a cage that we create.
Yeah. Well, that's a subject by itself.
Yeah, it
Dr.
is.
Ed Cole has written actually about forgiveness in every book he wrote. So it was such an important subject for him. But as we wrap up here, I read this interesting book about where all the good men have gone. And this is written by a lady who at the time maybe was single, maybe already married. I don't recall right now. But I wanted Pastor Steve to comment some of the things that are written here in the content. And so she, the writer, writes here and says that after a survey of many women and men, she collected some feedback. And here is what women say. Now, these are mostly single women, and who watch this channel are both married and single people. So some of the single women have said, we want to be pursued by the men. And men won't step up on the plate. How do you comment that? Is that true?
I'm not a big fan of generalizations.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Generalizations where all the men, all the women.
Yeah.
I'm very suspicious of terms like that. But I do think that we're living right now, and I speak to both men and women here, we are living in a season in the 21st century where the roles of men and women are being challenged in unprecedented ways that we've not seen for hundreds of years, and where men are not sure of how to conduct themselves with women, and women are not clear themselves on how they should conduct themselves. For example, when I first moved to Berlin, I grew up in a time when I would go and open the door. My wife will tell you this. I still open the car door for her. And if I sit on a train in a subway and a woman walks in, I'm going to get up and give her my seat. And not long after we moved to Berlin years ago, I was on the train and a woman came in that was not old. And I got up to give her my seat and she looked at me like I was mad. She thought I was crazy and was insulted. And so what I learned is that you only, in the culture that I'm living in now, you only give up your seat to someone who's elderly. Mm-hmm. And that women, fit women, business women or whatever, don't feel the need to have that extended to them. But see, I had to learn that because I didn't want to be offensive to this lady, but she did take offense. And that wasn't me going, oh, then you shouldn't be like that. No, this is where, again, you know what? I'm going to adjust. I understand that. But those kind of situations, you can enlarge that out to a lot of things, create uncertainty about how things should be done. If men are too aggressive, they're being, they're hitting on me. So it is not an easy thing. And so this is where one of the answers to that is, it may be true that men are not as aggressive as they need to be and not pursuing enough. That's where it's required that let's be respectful, men. But also, naturally, men are looking out to say, hey, I'd like to get to know that person there. Mm-hmm. So I do understand that. But women that might be listening, need to understand there's a lot of confusion for men. Yeah. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, men are confused.
They're not quite sure, and they want to do the right thing, some of them.
Yeah.
And we're talking about men like that genuinely want to approach women the right way. There's a lot of uncertainty.
One other thing women claim is that men are afraid of commitment. So what do you think? Why is that so? Why we are afraid of commitment as men? Why we want to leave the back door open?
Well, because we've built up a culture that sees commitment as a chain around the neck, mm-hmm. and not a freeing, empowering thing that commitment creates something more beautiful and more long-lasting than anything else. Men, statistically, and they've done studies on this, men benefit in some ways tangibly more than women do in a marriage relationship. Men live longer and tend to thrive in marriages. And we could go into there's some very biblical reasons for that, okay? But it also works the other way for women. They gain something too. But right now, the commitment isn't there because the whole culture is men and women's relationships are hit and run, one night stands. Yeah. And that has created a whole...
Get what you want and get out of it.
And so you have a whole generation of women that perhaps, this is I'm doing the very thing I don't like to do, generalizing, but where women are feeling empowered and free to be able to do what they want, and they're not wanting to be committed either, and that builds right in. Men are less inclined toward being committed in the right ways. And that's frankly a flaw in the male side of things, that men aren't fulfilling what they should be when they are non-committal. Mm-hmm. And they're talking trash, and they're just looking for a good time. And so that's a part of the culture today. Yeah. So there's no visible incentives to live committed.
And could it be that men are nowadays more insecure because of the upbringing and all of that, so they are more keen to believe that this could fail, and so if I don't commit, then of course, I avoid the failure. And from a woman's side, maybe once the marriage have gone bad, let's say people get divorced, children stay with the woman most often. He ends up paying for the house still and all the children's money. And they now hate him, and the children also sometimes are, turned against the father. Right. And then the father feels like, I'm working my butt off, trying to pay for the people who actually hate me. So next relationship, I'm really concerned about this commitment now.
Exactly.
Maybe it's going to turn out like that.
This is all so real.
Yeah.
So think about it. How many young men and women out there today, in this generation, can really look to a healthy relationship? You won't see it in entertainment industry.
You don't see it.
All the presentations of male-female relationships, almost none of them show a long-term relationship between a man and woman that are thriving, that are doing well in life, that are mutually benefiting one another. Those kind of relationships are so rare, and so nobody sees the potential of what commitment can bring.
Yeah.
And I would say to some of you out there that I never realized, yes, we're married now almost 50 years. I never realized how important our marriage would be, like in the life of our church, that it really creates a sense of hope. Mm-hmm. And we have people coming to us all the time. We'll be doing a parenting conference next weekend that is based on the fact that people see the way our family is and what commitment can do. And again, we've not done it perfectly. No one does, but God's been gracious to that. And so what an opportunity, if I'm speaking to some of you out there that have been married for a while and you've made your mistakes or whatever, but you're still there together, the potential for God to use that down the road is not just so you can live happy and have some nice grandchildren and get along someday. It also can be used by God to inspire others in the church that might be single, where they can actually see what it could look like for them.
Yeah.
That's inspiring. And for those of you out there that are looking for advice on relationships, go and find a couple like that. Don't talk to your girlfriend or your friend, your boyfriend, the guy in your life that's had 4 different relationships in the last year. They're not going to give you the kind of sound advice that perhaps a couple that's gone through 30 years together can give you. Look for people like that, and they can maybe offer some thoughts that will be encouraging. This can change.
Yeah.
I'm believing that there's a generation that can be raised up that really begin to break away from the norm, and that healthy marriages and thriving families can be one of the great shining cities on a hill for the church of the 21st century.
Yeah, and that can start to reproduce that in other new generations.
Absolutely,
because you
yes.
cannot reproduce what you haven't seen.
Exactly. Oh, so good. You're right.
You know, how can you do that if you give a child of 3 years old and you write like long suffering, or patience, and you say, go to your room, do it now. Just practice it. She doesn't know what that is like until she sees that in your character, how you behave to others, how you're long suffering. So without seeing it, it's very hard to reproduce. Just reading it. Oh, love. Oh, I wonder how love looks like. So I gotta see it. Yeah. Somebody's gotta go first and show it, Yeah. But we've lost the examples. We don't have the patterns to follow. And like you said, Hollywood only portrays, one night stands, short relationship, things don't work, transsexual things.
And we're watching that all the time, and it becomes the template of what we think is possible. And, it
becomes the norm.
And actually, a strong, committed marriage, that might seem a little boring for a feature film, but actually...
No drama.
but think about this, though. That offers, especially for those of you listening that are in the church and you've been married even 10 years, and you've got a couple of children, and well, there's nothing special about us. Yes, there is. And recognize it and realize that God's going to use your family as a testimony to God's faithfulness. Yeah. How are we going to teach our children that God is faithful, even in hard times, if we don't see marriages that are coming through the storms? Yeah. And so the marriage relationship really is an incredible, especially in a culture that doesn't honor marriage anymore, becomes an incredible tool, and it gives a purpose to our marriages beyond just let's live a happy life.
That's right.
It's now taken on a kingdom dynamic that's very exciting.
Absolutely.
And gives it a whole nother range of purpose and another reason to be motivated toward loving one another and living our best life as a couple.
Absolutely. Now, a few more things here. Yeah. Men today are emotionally and spiritually immature, or more immature, and take too long to grow up. Now it comes maybe a little bit along what we just talked about.
Yeah.
But what do you think of that statement?
Men usually do grow up a lot slower than women.
They do.
I'm speaking from experience.
Yeah. When women grow up, they throw their toys away. Men never. They just change the toys for more expensive toys.
Yeah. Oh no, there's not one of these things that are being said that don't have an element of truth.
Yeah.
But they don't have to be the final word on it.
That's right. That's right. But anyway, that statement, now what men say. Now, men who are frustrated, they're single, they're looking for a woman, and they say, women expect too much from us, spiritually, in the brackets. Real men are rough around the edges, so what do you expect?
Well, when it comes to defining what a real man is, and Dr. Cole was Christian
job.
Men's Network talks so much about Christ-likeness and being a strong man are synonymous. They're the same. So the real question for men isn't, are women expecting too much? The real question is, what kind of man was Jesus? Mm-hmm. And what we know is that women loved Jesus. They supported they financed his ministry. Mm-hmm. They were the first ones to see him when he rose from the dead.
That's correct.
He was loved by the women in that time as the epitome, the example of what a man should be like. Mm-hmm. So he was gentle and kind. He was direct. He corrected Mary and Martha. He loved them, but he told them the truth. And so he wasn't this little, didn't have anything to say. He was strong. He was masculine, but he extended respect and he called them daughters. Mm. He was strong. And so I don't think it's unfair for women to expect to meet Jesus in the men in their life. Yeah. And so men, stop whining about what women want and start to say, Lord, I want to become more like you. And there should be no limit on my ability to become more like Jesus. And that kind of criticism won't be made. And that means being a man where it's not about getting your way and being the big boss in your house. It's about being the greatest servant, getting up earlier, doing the things that are going to help your family, not ever complaining about what you're not getting to do. And if that means that toy in the garage is getting in the way of all that, you don't play with that toy, you sell it on eBay or whatever. In other words, there's nothing I won't do to advance the benefits of my family, which includes my wife and my children. If I'm newlywed, I'm here for her. I'll tell you what, if you articulate that and you believe for those kind of things, that will create a sense of safety and security and love in that partner. Women open up like flowers when they feel valued like that.
And I think, of course, as a woman, you should look for not perfect man that doesn't exist, but this pursuit for being perfect.
That's good.
You never reach it.
No.
But pursuit has to be there. So I fall short. But anyway, I get up, I try it again. So I always pursue to become better and better. Mm-hmm. And I think if I'm a boss, I hire somebody, and I know they are not there yet, but I see this pursuit, this willingness, right. Then I say, I can work with that. It's an alcoholic. Still falls back, but I see pursuit. He wants to become sober. He puts effort into it. I can work with that.
Yeah.
So this process of becoming Christ-like man is a lifetime pursuit.
It is.
And you really fully never reach it until we see him face to face, and right. Even maybe there still keep growing. But the pursuit, I think I can work with that pursuit.
And I think for women, I would challenge them too. Whether they're single or married, be asking the question, not where are all the men, why aren't they more bold in spiritual matters, but instead say, what can I develop in my life that will help that man that might be out there that I'm going to be with to grow into all of that? What can I do to be a catalyst for that?
That's helpmate.
It's exactly getting my focus off of what I need and on to how I can contribute into their best, what makes their best value. Yeah. And the reason we don't do that, men or women, okay, so that's not a criticism of the question or women that would ask it, but the reason we don't is we're afraid that we won't get them what we need. If I just pour myself into them, and that's it back to the issue you talked about earlier of trust, and that has to be proven. If someone is genuinely not willing, like you said, where's their passion, their teachability? Are they really self-motivated to develop and grow? Jesus said, don't cast your pearls with swine. And I would say that to women. If that man is not really motivated in any way to grow in faith, don't waste your time. Mm. And for a man, I'd say, if that woman is never asking, if it's always about her and what she needs and you're not meeting it, don't get offended, but be aware you will never satisfy to the level that will make her happy. because the issue isn't what you're lacking. It's what she's focused on, that she needs more. And people that need more of anybody, emotionally or materially, if that's the motivation that's there in the spirit, in their spirit, you're not going to satisfy that. And that's not about your lack. It's about what they're expecting. And it's a bottomless pit. And so we do really need wisdom in male and female relationships, but it really does need to be focused on what I can contribute toward. And when we do that, that's why in marriage counseling, before marriage counseling, we try to get couples to really have these kinds of conversations, because very often we don't. Yeah. You know, like you said, the buckets on our heads. Yeah. I like that. The buckets on our head. So pre-marriage counseling is about let's take our buckets off. Let's take our buckets off.
See the real life.
And talk about how are we going to handle children? What are we doing with our finances? And, you know, what do you really expect from me? And, you know, what does a Christian marriage for us look like? Yeah. And those kind of questions.
But the key is, and this has been mentioned many times today, focus on what you can do. What you're doing, what you're maybe not doing.
Yeah.
And so when a person comes to a counseling, they have been frustrated about what other is not doing, in their opinion. So everything we're going to say is, oh, this, and everything is bad about them, you know. But they can focus off on themselves. And even preparation for the marriage and while being married, you know, it's always, am I doing my part? You know, I can only change really myself. I can't change another person. Right. I mean, right. And so the best I can do is start to work with me, invest things into that relationship, into our family that will start to bring forth fruits. And the other thing in that is maybe the word process. You have a goal in your mind, what that should look like, but in order to get to that goal, you got to go through the process, and process is where we want to quit sometimes, because
that's true.
You're in the middle of somewhere there, you haven't seen the end result yet. Right. It's too far from the starting point, and you feel like quitting in the process. But nothing in this life is what it will become one day. You got to work with it.
That's good. That's good. You're right.
Anywhere you look, you know, all the aerodynamic laws were already existing in the Garden of Eden. We just didn't know how to tap into that, you know.
That's good.
So we had to find them and start to work with them. But now, as we wrap up here, so many things we could say, and there's a lot of things that I would ask you to comment on this book. But if somebody is out there and we talk about relationships, three things to give, how to start to better your relationship in just your pro opinions. I mean, different things could be, maybe you think about it more important than the others, but what would you recommend for a person to do to better your relationship?
Yeah. The current climate we live in of being, we're working online, digitally, digital nomads, the whole scenario of how life is developing, where people are moving in and out of cities. There's so much movement of people. It's very easy to live isolated from one another. And if you are a younger person, you're already developing in your life working patterns and relationship patterns that may or may not be connected to other people. And so one of the most important things is to understand that friendship and building relationships is not something that just will happen automatically. You know, and for some it does, because they're very social or whatever. But the truth is, today, the ability to live alone and be lonely, which are two different things. You can live alone and not be lonely, but the ability to live isolated from others is greater than it's ever been. In the city of Berlin, where I live, 70% of the homes, the residences of people, one person in that house. And so what that tells you is that we are becoming more and more isolated. And there are all kinds of tools to make you feel like you're connected, but they're all digital, and they're not real flesh, face-to-face relationships.
So to create that the relationship or work on it is intentional.
It has to be, like we've used that word today. I have to recognize that developing friendships and being a friend is not just a byproduct of how I'll live when I go to work or whatever. I have to pursue it and think about it. Mm-hmm. So it means if you're in a new place, for example, you've moved to a new town, you go and you find a group of people, and I would recommend the first place to go is find a local church.
Absolutely.
And get involved. Don't just come and visit on a Sunday, but find a church and volunteer to help. In fact, ask the leaders of the church, where do you need me to serve? The leaders will be shocked because they don't hear that very often, do you? Mm-hmm. Usually you're told what I can do for you. But just go and ask and get involved, serve in a way, and start connecting with people and building friendships. Invite people out to lunch. I knew a couple that came into the church where I was years ago. They were brand new. They had just moved from another part of the country. And I noticed one Sunday they were talking with people out in the front. It was a pretty large church. And they acted like they'd already been there a long time. I didn't even know them yet. I got to meet them then. But I found out later, listen to this, on Saturday, this was on a Sunday, they were there in church. On Saturday, they prepared food for a Sunday dinner, set up their dinner table, and had the food ready to go to be heated up when they got home. And every week, brand new church they're in, they would invite a couple people home for dinner to get to know them. Mm-hmm. In other words, they showed up at church and didn't say, okay, who's going to talk to me now? I'm the visitor. When am I going to be accepted? They walked in the door and began to connect and be intentional.
And communicate.
And even if you're single and just out of university and you're in first job, it's a mindset that you can decide, I'm going to build friendships with men and women in my life. I'm not with the kids I went to school with. I'm not in my hometown. It's a mindset. And I'm going to make intentional decisions that will connect me with other people.
And that goes true for a man and woman relationship as well. You become intentional of bettering that relationship. Something I can do. I'll make a purpose. I'll write it down. I'll start working on.
No, you shouldn't be embarrassed about wanting to look for a lifetime partner if you're interested in that.
Absolutely.
Nor should you feel embarrassed or ashamed if you don't feel drawn to that. Mm-hmm. Single people can still be tremendous friends and have just as rich and fulfilling a life as a married person can. Okay? More of us are usually married than not, but it's not. It's about a mindset and about an attitude. What am I here for? Am I here to party on and just have fun for a little while? Or am I here to contribute into the benefits and good of others? And in doing that, I become a bigger, better, stronger, more faith-filled person that lives fulfilled and satisfied with who I am and who God made me to be.
All right. As we finish now, tell our audience 3 things that you admire most about your wife. In the case she should watch this program later.
You should have told me this before we came on the air. One of the things I admire about my wife is she is just absolutely beautiful. She cares for herself well. And when she looks beautiful, she feels beautiful. And when she feels beautiful about herself, I enjoy that part of her, that she's just her
you
beauty.
Satisfaction.
She's beautiful. That. She's just beautiful. And she's gotten more beautiful over the year.
Oh, wonderful.
The next thing is she's so committed to other people. She has a great heart of empathy for praying for people. When things happen to others, she really experiences it with them, and it really motivates her to pray and to help people. She's really thinks about other people more than herself. And then finally, I just would say she is very faithful. She's very consistent. She has been faithful to me. She's been a tremendous mom to her children. She has broken barriers in relationships and in her family. She's just an all-star. And it's all come out of being consistent. She doesn't change when it comes to her faith and to loving me, to loving our kids, loving the grandchildren. And she's a great mother and our spiritual mom too in our church. But it's all out of her consistency. And I've seen this, of course, over 50 years. I could give you a longer list. I don't know if I could go. I don't know if I could go to 50.
Another 47, and you're done the 50. But listen, thank you so much for sharing of your experience and your wisdom with our audience. And thank you for coming to Estonia.
And thank you for having me
here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, as I picked you up from Riga airport yesterday, you mentioned that you've been to Riga and Latvia. So I was, surprised, but Estonia first.
But now I've been to the crown jewel of the Baltic republics.
Glory to God. Just keep preaching it, brother. So tonight we have the men's meeting at Abia, and tomorrow our church meeting, and one in Haapsalu later on. So we're looking forward that God has to us through you. And so anyway, keep working on your relationships. We've all done lots of mistakes, and we could just weep over these and stay in our past and stick there. But I think with God we always have a future.
Amen.
And so grab some of these principles. If nothing else, just take this intentionality and start making it intentional. Put some things down in writing and start working on it. Anyway, we'll see you, some of you guys, tonight at Abia. Be blessed. Thank you again, Pastor.
Thank you.
And I'll be seeing you shortly.